Okie dokie, so we're gonna try to start spraying this a little bit. And I'm gonna try to narrate this as I'm doing it. It might be more interesting. I'm using just some light blue acrylic paint. This airplane, the way I wanna make it is basically light blue all on the undersides and up until this high up onto the side of the fuselage, even on the fin and rudder. The only places that aren't going to be blue are the tops of the stabilizers and the tops of the wings and the top part of the nacelle. But everything else is going to be light blue. So I think it's going to take a lot of light blue to do this, but I may as well start doing that. Now, for those of the people who don't know about airbrushing, this stuff will thin with alcohol, which is nice, and you can clean it off with lacquer thinner really well. I've stirred it with the back end of my little paintbrush here, just to make sure that it's nice and smooth, ready to go. Got my airbrush ready to go. Little double action airbrush, works really well. And I'm gonna pour this in, and we'll see what it looks like when it comes out. That actually looks pretty good. I don't think I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm not gonna put any more thinner into it yet. Let's see how it goes. And I'm gonna leave the top on. The top, if you take this off, you'll get a much finer spray. You can see the little needle right there. Well, maybe I'll leave it off for now, because that's for doing detail work. You put this one on, you get a broader spray pattern. Let's try this, see what happens. So, don't lose that. Take this, test spray it. Looks pretty good. All right, so the idea here is going to be to spray this and get a general appearance here. Probably leave some of the panel lines. We'll see how this stuff covers first. So let's just give it a little shot on the wingtip here. I'm going to cover it a little bit and kind of leave it. And it looks to me like the panel lines are going to be pretty nice. We can do some post shading later, but you know, I might be able to just go ahead and spray this thing. Let's see what my fabric effect looks like on the ailerons there. Let's see how that looks. Might not like it, but we'll see. But so far, what this might need is just a nice overall spray of this light blue, rather than worrying about anything else. The panel lines are staying open, and you can see them still. It's almost like I was thinking about spraying around and keeping some of the other parts open, but might not. And some of this color is being a little bit mottled a little bit. That's fine. There's no reason to have this completely like one monotone shade. I mean, you can do weird things with airbrush. Like you can say, I'm gonna fill this piece in a certain color, and then this you're gonna leave lighter. You can do all kinds of little effects, or you can cover things with airflow and then leave it as is. There's all kinds of things you can do. Don't forget the edges here. But as is right now, I'm thinking just for an overall, because we're going to go back and post shade, and we'll talk about what that means in a little bit here, but we're going to go back and post shade later. I think right now all we got to do, it'll be much easier than I thought. We're just going to go ahead and coat this thing, our light blue. I was really worried about the color disappearing and the panel lines disappearing essentially, and they're not. I can still see them. And if there's any that end up disappearing entirely, I can always, there's still enough stuff in there that I think I can go back and still play with them. But already this is looking better. And then here's try to get my bottom of my nacelle here. And all the way around. You can see this is just not rocket science. Shouldn't be afraid of an airbrush. They're not like spiders or snakes or anything like that. Now, this has to be covered in this light blue color up to a part on top, which this part will be all our camouflage colors, our sort of gray, violet, and darker gray, or green. I'm not sure which I'm going to do. But for now, I'm just going to make sure I spray everything this color. But again, I'm not covering it entirely. Number one, that's saving on paint, which is kind of nice. But it's also making it so I can, because I'm not sure how far the color is going to go down, I'm going to go ahead and hit those with that just to make sure. It's better to overspray with the light color and then go back. That's fine. So I am just going to go ahead and keep spraying this puppy. This is going really well. Again, you don't have to have perfect coverage because we're going to go back, as I said, and sort of hit these with some other colors, darken things, lighten things, make things look a little more interesting. But a mottled color on the bottom is not bad. These are supposed to be well-maintained, but also, you know, well-used airplanes going up against the 8th Air Force. So they're going to be probably a little less beautiful than you think. It's certainly not going to look super clean. And so, again, modeling doesn't matter. And we'll put this on first. If we don't like it, we can always go back and fill things in and make it a little bit cleaner. But for now, my life is easy. You know, just spraying this down, blowing right over all the panel lines seems to not be a problem. They seem to be showing up. This will also let us see if there's some more filling we want to do, which might happen. Again, cover this a little bit because I'm not sure where my line's going to be, where my demarcation's going to be. So overdo it, and then, you know, that's okay. We can play with it later. This stuff, by the way, this acrylic paint dries very fast, so you can sort of, you know, you can hold things pretty fast, pretty easily. You don't have to worry about putting fingerprints in it. I mean, you don't want to touch it immediately, but you certainly don't have to worry about, ooh, we ran out. You don't have to worry about being super, super careful. This is going to work great because haven't used that much, and this thickness is about right. I didn't want any thinner just because I think it'll be just too thin at that point. I think this is going to be okay. Ooh, a mess. Gross. Okay. But I think with a little bit of luck here, I should be able to get this whole thing light blued without much worry. Oops, sorry. I should be able to get this thing light blued without much worry. I'm trying to figure out if I can put the camera on my person and then maybe it'd be easier for you to see. I'm hoping that the camera's catching some of this stuff pretty well. And again, I like this color and I like what's happening. Your mileage may vary. You might decide that this does not look good to you, and that's fine. We can fight about it later. Just kidding. You know, it's kind of up to you what you want to do. But this is going better than I thought, and much more efficient than I thought it was going to be. Fuselage sides, again, I'm going to bring them up to basically, my compressor just kicked in. I'm going to bring up that light blue up to this top part because the spine of this is where you're going to get some of the other color. Don't, like I say, need to paint the tops of these. I don't need to make the top of the wings. But everything else in the fuselage up to, you know, basically in line with the canopy is important to do. Now, as I recall on pictures, the barbettes here were sprayed, and then when they would move, you could see where they missed spraying. So it seems to me I'm going to try to keep this kind of horizontal and then see if, and spray them and see how that looks. So I'm going to go ahead and spray the side of the fuselage and even the nose up here, because I'm thinking we're going to have this blue color up to and including the underside of the canopy. The rudder too, the fin and the rudder is going to be blue because it's going to have some mottled appearance over it. So that's going to be a light blue color. I'm not sure about right here. I'm kind of, again, putting in more than I need. It's easier to put too much in and then not worry about it later. But I'm chuffed with how the panel lines are turning out. They're looking pretty good. I'm not sold yet on my fabric. Not sold on my. Not sold on my little fabric elevators and stuff. That might need to be changed. But overall, this is going really well. Maybe I could thin this paint out a little bit, save a little on it. But right now, I think we're doing okay. Get these on, at least as a first pass. And get this stuff on here as a first pass. Then we can worry about if it doesn't look good or if we should we have more or less something. But I'm just going to check and make sure I got my nacelles painted. Everything on the underside is painted, which is great. That looks fine. All over it looks pretty good. Again, if it's not quite covered, that'll make it look more weathered and more interesting. We're going to come back and do things with it anyway. If there's any place that's really bald, like I got a bleeding edge here that needs some help, hit that again. Make sure all my nacelles are where I want them. They're high enough. Make sure things are sprayed from the front. Make sure you've got everything the way you want it. Why I didn't mix a color is it's really nice to have a color that's already in a silly, oh yeah, get the leading edges too. It's nice to have a color already that's mixed, that if you do run out, heaven forbid, which never happens, you can go back and you can go ahead and get the same color again, and it's going to be very close match, and you won't have to worry about having issues of the non-conforming colors. And dang, I'm just, kind of surprised that this is working out as well as it is. Not that I ever had any doubt, but I do think this is going to be kind of cool. I can't wait to put the other camo on it. That's where we're going to start masking and kind of having fun. Now I'm just making sure again, I got light blue up to the trim of the nacelles. They're high enough. I got the whole fuselage part covered up front. Got it coming up along the sides and up along to the spine. I got my barbettes painted, which is important, and I got fingerprints on there because I'm an idiot. Things like that happen all the time, so it's really nothing to complain about or worry about. Yeah, this is going really well because I can do post shading and really make some cool effects, I think, on my. And again, if I look at this and go, hey, that's not dark enough, or that doesn't look good, I can always go back and put some more panel lines on. It'll go right through the paint. That's not a problem. So that's not too shabby. We're gonna take a look at this for a second. See what you think. I mean, we got our blue. See, the color line is going to be right about here where the canopy is. It's going to come back like this. And it's going to be modeled on the tail. stabilizer, top of the wing, top of the nacelles are all going to be splinter camouflage, and I think they're going to be freehand. I got to look at more pictures of the airplane and see if the paint had a solid line or if the paint was sprayed. Got to look, because some airplanes like old Henkels and J-88s from early on in the war and stuff, those suckers had very solid lines on them. This is supposed to be 1944, so maybe this is not going to be that way. And the light blue, by the way, will look much better when you put the other colors on it. You put the other colors on it, it'll make it look even better in terms of color. But I think that's going to be a cool color for this. This to me looks like a German light blue. I am not too upset by this. And I gotta make sure my little, I got stuff coming up into my radiators. Sorry about that, I can't see it. Okay, one more shot on this barbette over here, and I think we're gonna call that quits. And the next color will be fun. The next color will be starting. Well, I gotta find a good camouflage scheme for the airplane, actually, because I don't know much about the Me-410, but I gotta find a good color that will look nice. But I think it's a gray violet or green violet, and then gray. I think those two combinations look really pretty, and they'll look neat. And then it'll be modeled on the side, sort of solid on top, but then on the sides it's going to come down in speckles, kind of partway down the fuselage. It's going to be on the fin. It's going to look really cool. So we're going to say that's good. We'll come back, like I said, later and do some post effects with the airbrush and darken panel lines, lighten panel lines, put streaks on, make our panel lines more obvious or less obvious, depending. And overall, I'm liking this. And by the way, we're going to later on cut out these the landing gear doors from the nacelle. That way we'll know it fits and looks good, and then we'll have to clean it up a little bit. Then we'll work on the inside of the wheel well and locate our oleo struts. But you know, I gotta say, I'm so pleased. That worked better than I thought. I thought I'd run out of paint. This is great. I'm not at all upset. If you're really worried, you could just paint the whole stupid model light blue, because then you wouldn't miss anything. But I'm not going to paint it all light blue. I'm going to think that I got this down pretty well. It's weird out in the garage. It's really hard to see where the gray is and where this bluish light blue Lichtblau is. At least in my experience, it's hard to tell if you got everything. And then what you do is you find your mistakes much later. But anyway, that's all there is to it. Super simple. And, you know, any chips and things, I mean, little things like this, hope you can see it in the picture. Anything like that little piece, that's cool. That's just a piece of scuff. I don't care about that. And again, the sort of the modeled appearance doesn't bother me, because I can come back and shine these things up and get them really nice if I wish. So I'm going to say we're good. I'm going to say that's wonderful. So just to complete the process for people who have never used an airbrush before, they're not hard to use. You just take some practice. I'm just going to show you. This is really dumb. If you're bored, you can leave. I'm out of stuff, but I want to show you sort of how I clean this up. One of the things about airbrushes is everyone says, oh, they're hard to clean and I can't do it. Yes, you can do it. If you can take a bath, you can do this. So I take a little bit of rubbing alcohol with the acrylics initially, and I go ahead and put some in there. I take a brush and I swirl it around inside to loosen the paint. And I take this and I toss it out into my garbage can. And then I just twist this thing around, get it cleaned pretty well. Then I put in some more alcohol, and I basically, You basically spray it and make it clean. I also put my finger over here and you'll see it bubble. That helps get some of the stuff out of the way. But you want to make sure you get this thing. You see it's all colored because it's not nearly ready yet. Need to clean that up. But you do this as an initial, you do this as a little initial cleaning, at least I do. Then, that's with rubbing alcohol. Then I put that away and you break out the big guns, which is lacquer thinner. You buy this stuff really cheap, like at a hardware store, in big drums, much cheaper than buying it like this. So this lacquer thinner will take anything off. It'll take your pants off. It strips things really well. So I go ahead and give that a swirl. Shoot it in there. Lock it again. Take a fresh Kleenex maybe. Kind of clean it out a little bit. And I'll use this to clean out my top. This lacquer thinner is, like I said, really kind of wicked. It's good. But you also shouldn't take a bath in it either. I think I'm okay. I already have had my children, so I think I'm all right. So that's good. Now, the part that people hate, or the part that you really have to clean on this thing, is the needle. That's the most important thing. So to clean the needle, it's very simple. There's not much here. I'm going to toss this out. Clean this out one more time. But all you do, your airbrushes are different, but in my case, I just unscrew this. I unscrew this little set screw, pull out my needle. Okay? Needle's very important. Don't want to bend it, don't want to drop it. All that stuff would be bad news. I then throw a little more lacquer thinner in here. And I take this and I basically spray the needle with the lacquer thinner to clean that off. And then carefully twist the needle and pull with some of the paper towel or whatever you have. And then I make sure that I'm getting all of this stuff out. Making sure she's good. If you take out the needle, you got to be careful because the needle goes through this trigger mechanism. So if you turn this thing over to dump out extra stuff, you're gonna lose your that trigger housing. Anyway, I put a little bit in. Now I go ahead and put my needle in very carefully until it seats. Put this guy back on. Put my back end on, screw that in place. Make sure this sprays. Notice it's spraying out clean. It's not blue anymore. Okay. And that's good. So I just spray that a little bit. And my garage doors, by the way, are open, so you're not dying from fumes. It's not a good look. And there it is. And it took longer because I'm trying to explain it, show you things. But that's it. Clip that thing up. Airbrush is ready for the next time. So as long as you do it with the airbrush, this airbrush is over 25 years old, runs like the day I bought it. Actually, my wife bought it. So don't be afraid of an airbrush at all. Airbrushes are your friend. Okay, so good deal. Next thing we'll do is figure out our colors, like I said, for this. I'm gonna say that here's some gray violet. I've never used this stuff before. People swear by it. I don't know if it's any good, but this is this gray violet color. And then I got two of those. And oh, I got 3 of them. And then I've got some kind of a gray I'm going to use that will hopefully look good. Or I've got to find out if it's gray or green. I guess that's my problem. I'm not sure. Hello, world. I got to make sure what colors are which. But the gray violet should be nice for part of the scheme. And then it's either a gray or a straight gray or a green. I want to say it's probably a straight gray. And the overall effect is very dull and cool looking and very Germanic, and it'll look really nice. And we put the markings on there. This thing is going to be sweet. So there we are. Initially, anyway, some stuff started, and next time we will start actually painting all the top stuff. So we'll see you then. Thanks for watching.